They're not going to be in here today.
Ooh,
Who is?
it could be.
Yeah, I don't know who they are, but I know
Oh,
that
no.
there's always a group.
Yeah, there's
They're
always
We
always
better-
sitting right there.
Oh, shoot.
So we'll send them into our room.
Yeah,
Yeah, they want to go there anyways.
So, you know, the grass is always greener, right?
Yeah, they always wanted to, they always move. They move in there eventually anyways. Is it locked? Okay, let me just go give something to Amy.
Okay.
Well, starting in 1 minute, folks.
All right.
Am I too close to the camera? Okay.
You're looking good.
Okay, fine. Okay, fine.
I missed you.
Yeah, I missed you too.
Too much work.
Yeah, well,
It's good, I guess.
good. Let me see this watch. Look at
Isn't
that.
that beautiful?
Oh, I
Chips.
love that.
All the chips in there.
Yeah, very cool.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Great. Glad to be here. My poor dog woke me up in the night at 3, 4, and 4:15. So then I was up from 4 to 7, and I feel kind of hungover right now.
Oh my God, poor
I'm
thing.
praying I don't fall asleep in the class.
Is the dog okay?
Yeah. 3 and 4 and 4:15, and then I was up until 7. Yeah. She was sick.
On Monday morning.
Oh, sorry.
In fact, what was happening in my head was what the raccoons said sometimes. They were dancing. Dancing around in my head.
You
Yeah, they like
I
to
go
do
to Minyan
that.
every day to say Kaddish for my father, and this one, different people daven every day, and there's this one man that davens, and it's very monotone sound. It's chanting like everybody else does, but with no melody at all, and it's kind of haunting. And for 2 nights in a row, every time I wake up, I hear the same line from the Aleinu of his voice in my head. It's just, I don't even know his name. It's a doctor, somebody who davens at Beth Yeshurun, 5:30 Minyan. And it just, I looked up the words, you know, are these significant words? Like, should I, no, it's just, you know, it's just what's stuck in my head.
I don't know.
What?
A coffee booth.
Oh, it's gonna run over?
No.
The cup overrunner, literally.
It stopped. Yeah.
And I kept hearing Rabbi Cohen this morning saying Zerampin, Zerampin. I must have heard that 1,000 times.
face.
Zerampin, okay. It must have been about my dog with that tiny little face, right? Because she can't jump up on the bed. She has
Those
bad
little
knees.
tiny legs.
And so there I would hear her, she would do this next to the bed, right next
With
to
her
my
little
face.
nails creaking.
And I'd wake up and look down, and there's this little face looking up at me, like, let me up. Zerampin, okay.
Yeah, we're cool. But we thought it was going
What's that? Oh. Where are you taking those? Are you leaving some of those with me? Those are my mom's favorite yellow roses. After my father went blind, he had a caregiver that became a friend and would just visit every day. And he always made sure that he would have flowers delivered to my mom for Mother's Day and her birthday, yellow roses, with my dad's name, you know, on them.
How sweet.
Even though she knew, of course, that my dad wasn't doing it, but it was just so sweet.
That is sweet.
I grind beans before it's done.
Smells like coffee over there. Doesn't that smell good?
And in here too.
Yeah, you gotta have that to keep you awake.
Well,
Yeah.
this is decaf. It's decaf espresso.
That's not gonna keep you awake.
No.
What is decaf? Don't tell me mine is decaf.
Mine's decaf. I would like to drink caffeine, but it doesn't agree with me.
All right,
And I've never
here we are. We're here. Okay, we're online, everybody. 1, 2, 3. Everybody say, I love Torah.
I love Torah.
I didn't get it. It wasn't loud enough. You weren't enthusiastic enough.
Give us another chance.
I love Torah. Okay. All right, we're on chapter 2. Okay.
Yes.
Chapter 2 on the
Class
importance of thoughts. And we discovered last week the most unbelievable dynamic thought of all Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niheh b'baruch.
Amen.
The most unbelievable thought of all, which is the Baal Shem Tov brings down, wherever your thoughts are, that is where you are. So unbelievable. Wherever your thoughts are, that's where you are. So where does it go to? So we basically always can divide the creation into three different divisions, as it brings down from the Book of Formation. One of the earliest books we have is space, time, and consciousness. Space, place is physical space, time, of course, and then us, consciousness. We did a little bit of a dabble, but we have to go into some more examples. I believe I'm on page 4, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Some examples.
Awesome.
Page 4.
Okay, so here are some examples of space, time, and consciousness in terms of our thoughts. In other words, wherever you are. And most of the times, as we know, and I keep asking people, what is this thing called mindfulness that everybody's involved in, right? And they say, well, it's ancient, it comes from the Chinese, and yet it's a new thing, it's a new fad that everybody seems to be into recently, and so what is it?
Thank God.
What?
Thank God, it's a fad. It's old, but it's new.
It's old, but it doesn't matter. I mean, it's been in part of us all the time, because if you live your life out of wherever your thoughts are, that is where you are, so you'll always got to be able to, you have to always follow your thoughts. And be aware of what your thoughts are in terms of being able to pull yourself in the right direction. Where do you want to go? Or where do you want to be? Or where in the world am I? Okay? Where in the world am I? As the prince says, the viceroy says that every time he woke up after trying, almost got to save the princess. He woke up, he ate apple, he drank from the wine, he fell asleep, he blew it. We're all on a mission here to save the lost princess, by the way. If you wake up in the morning, you have to open your eyes. I'm on a mission, right? You have to rescue the lost princess. Okay, we'll get into who that is. What? Yes, rescue the lost princess, the first story of Rabbi Nachman. We're all on the journey. So where in the world am I? You have to go read up. Okay, you can read that probably about you'll read all through of them. I figure if you borrow the book now, you'll be finished in probably 3 days. Okay, 2 days. For you, probably a few hours. Okay, because you're a book eater. I like those kind of people. Okay. So some examples. The Baal Shem Tov did not write anything on his own. You always have to know that. Okay. He never actually wrote anything. He just told it to his students. And his students, of course, after he passed away, wrote it down, his main students. And then, of course, it was scattered all over many, many, many texts. Most of his main student was Rabbi Yaakov Yosef of Polonia. Of course, somebody had to go through all of his works, of his writings, and pick out every single place where he quotes his Rabbi. That was quite, Baruch Hashem, there had people there who didn't have all the distractions that we had, who can plow through tons of material and pick out every place where he quoted it. And of course, there's many other people of his Talmidim who also quote here, quote there, and somebody finally put it together into some works. This is one of them, actually. This is only a 2-volume. This is a 2-volume set. This is 1 volume. This is the Baal Shem Tov according to the Aleph Beit. Inyanim, according to topics, going from A to Aleph to Taf, okay? Going from Aleph to Taf, so it goes through every single topic, okay? So it's pretty cool, but again, sometimes they miss some things, okay? In any case, and then the main work of the Baal Shem Tov that they basically put together, all of his writings, was the Baal Shem Tov on the Torah. According to the Parsha, they basically put in, according to the verses, they would plug in his stuff. So in any case, though, the most one who wrote about from the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov was Rabbi Yaakov Yosef of Polonia. So I feel it includes all 3 dimensions in this, and is in the perfect theme of this book as he writes this. It's a great little simple question, okay? So it's known in the Talmud, many other writings also, many other places, that each one of the 613 mitzvot correspond to one of the limbs of the body. As we know, right? You have how many positive? 240 48, thank you. And how many negative mitzvahs? How much?
365.
Very good. Okay, A plus. Okay. You were too slow. Okay. It's okay. I'm just joking. I'm just playing with you. Okay. So in any case, 248 positive commandments in the Torah correspond to 248 limbs of the body. 365 negative commandments correspond to 365 sinews of the body. Okay? So obviously the idea here is that when you do a positive commandment, you're going to give vitality to that part of the body. This is just the same thing she didn't have. You give vitality to that body. Of course, if a person transgresses one of the negative commandments, he takes away the vitality of that sinew. Okay? So here he asks a great question. As we know that since everything corresponds to a body part, the 613 mitzvahs, if so, how is it that one mitzvah that a person does with one of the limbs of his body results in creating an angel that has all 613 limbs? Okay? If you did a mitzvah with a leg, it should be a leg angel, and it should just look like a leg. And you're like, what are you doing in my living room? Okay? On Friday night, don't forget all of the angels, all of the angels that you created through the week. With your extra neshama, you're getting your extra soul on Shabbat. And of course, I just read in the Tikkun Zohar today, this morning, right? All of your extra soul is coming, and it comes in various degradations, right? I also read that's why Shabbat really extends until Tuesday. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. That's why the Amshanavar doesn't make Havdalah till Tuesday night. Amshanavar Rebbe. It's known. Tuesday night is when he does Havdalah. No, he is like beyond time. It's really cool. It's good. Yes. I mean, it's not that he's in Shabbos. He does things. But he doesn't make Havdalah till Tuesday night. He eats. He does, activities. But he doesn't make Havdalah till Tuesday night. It's because we have different levels of soul. We have our higher soul. You have a neshama of the neshama. That's how it calls it. You'll have your neshama, your soul. You'll have your ruach, number 2, and then you'll have your nefesh. So after the Shabbos, you lose the highest part of your extra soul, but your other parts are still there. Sunday, your neshama that stayed with you, that leaves. And Monday, your ruach leaves, and Tuesday, finally, your nefesh, the last part, leaves on Tuesday. That's cool. You have to admit. Everybody's wondering, what is going on there, right? So, the idea really here is, of course, we said that the additional soul is coming on Shabbat and it is escorted with angels, companies of companies, it's like angels. And we learned, a few weeks ago that the angels that the mitzvahs that you did during the week created like a body form and a lower level soul for that angel, but he doesn't get his full soul till he comes escorting your extra soul, then he gets his full-fledged soul. And that's why we welcome the angels on Shabbos. Those angels that we're welcoming are the ones that we created. Okay? So that's why I said, what are you doing in my living room? Okay? It's like Friday night and you see a leg angel. Okay. So sorry, I'm just joking. Okay. The answer is, so we get the question? We get the question. Right? So if it's a leg angel, if you did a mitzvah with your leg or your legs, you ran to the synagogue, which is a great mitzvah. You ran to the synagogue. Or you gave tzedakah, like I bring the example, with one arm, right? You should have an angel. Oh, you did it with one body part. That body part is how do you get a whole, full-fledged angel with a mitzvah that you did with one body part? We get the question, more or less? So he answers like this. It's a great idea, great concept. The concept of the whole Torah rests actually in this. The answer is that when he does a mitzvah with complete faith, emunah, that through that particular mitzvah, he merits to attach to the infinite oneness. May his expression increase to all creation, because that's what we're involved in. We're involved only in being a reflection of the infinite. So in other words, when we do a mitzvah, what do we want to do? And we'll learn it later on. I bring the definition of a mitzvah. Comes from tzava'at. Tzava'at, which means tongs.
Turn
Yeah,
things over.
it's connect.
Is it bot?
Tong. Tzava'at. Sadi vav vav taf. Savat is
It's
a
like
tongs,
mitzvah.
pliers, okay?
Siva, it's like
Siva, towards Siva, Lana Moshe, but Siva, I'm going to tell you, you got the word, somebody said the word already, connection. Because the tongs connect.
Is it also connected to skull?
No, that's with an aleph, kind of different. Yes, that's like host, a multitude. What? Sadi, vav, vav, taf is the root. Yeah.
Wow.
So you have to think about what's the connection of tongs. By the way, don't ever think that the Torah doesn't have a sense of humor. God doesn't have a sense of humor. Okay? Don't ever think, right? It's known that in Erev Shabbat, Bein HaShemashos, on the eve of the first Sabbath, after Adam had sinned, as the sun was setting, God had to whip up 10 things. He had to whip up in the program to change the program of the rest of the expanse of creation. He had to do some jimmy shanking. Okay, I call it a jimmy shank, according to Rabbi Yehuda Fataya, because we had to go ahead and Adam messed up, so now we have to set some things in motion that's going to help rectify and bring about the final rectification. And one of those things is tongs. Why? Because you need tongs to make tongs. Don't ask.
Yeah.
You got to have the first pair of tongs, because in order to make tongs, you need
Which came
tongs to
first,
make
the
tongs.
or the
Starter
tongs?
set.
Like, you need to make tongs. Where's the original tongs? I put them right here a second ago. You need tongs to make tongs. That's what it says. And everybody's looking at that. And everybody who reads that can't help from laughing, because it's like, oh, come on, really now? Okay? In any case, there's a much deep mysteries in the first pair of tongs, but let's not go there. Tongs for us is mitzvah. Mitzvah means connection. So it's not 613 commandments. It's 613 connections. You have to plug in, connect, okay?
It's like an operator board.
But if I plug in with a mitzvah, and a mitzvah has one action in my arm, so how does it? So here, when we do the mitzvah with one body part, and we have to do it with complete emunah, that through this particular mitzvah, he will merit to attach to the infinite oneness. May his expression increase to all creation. And this is as it says in the verse, and to him you will attach. That's a mitzvah. It brings it down in a verse in Deuteronomy. If you want to know what's the whole real Torah, what's the Torah really about? Bottom line, connection. L'davek bo, to attach to God. Every single aspect of the Torah, the mitzvot, is to do one thing and one thing only, to attach yourself to God. Okay? Everything is just about that. Okay? That's cool. Everybody on Facebook is catching that. Okay? Just creating little angels. Okay? And to him you will attach. To attach oneself to God is the prime directive of the entire Torah. Everything is about attachment. Nothing else. Okay? So, one holy man said attachment is the fruit of the tree of the Torah. Now, there was a Torah you look at, right? That's the body of the laws. That's the directives, right? But of course, what is the outcome of that? What is the outcome of the Torah? What is the fruit of the tree of the Torah? You becoming attached. Okay? It's so much goes into this. So many people learn Torah, they can learn Torah all their lives, but if they don't learn with the right intention to become attached, so they become a mental genius. You know every single law, you can know all the passages of the Talmud, you could know every single thing backwards and forwards, but you're still a miserable schlub. Okay? Because you're not enlightened, and you're not bubbling and you're not exploding with love of God and you're not exploding with attachment and you're not only wanting everybody else to be attached to God. Okay, you're a tzaddik in the corner, you're doing the right thing, you know it all, but you're no earthly good to anybody else. Okay, that's one kind of righteous person. So in any case, the idea here is that what is the fruit of the tree of the Torah? It is attachment. If so, then when he is attached, should be a comma there, he binds his thoughts to the infinite one. So, since he binds his thoughts to the infinite ones, and he's in a state of attachment at that time, so consequently all 248 limbs and all 365 sinew nerves are dragged along, as I heard, this is his words, as I heard from my master, from my teacher, the Baal Shem Tov, wherever a person's thoughts are, that is where he is completely. In other words, when you do the mitzvah, you got to get into, like, I'm sorry to say it, some kind of nirvana state, if you can do that, okay? Where you're just feeling, and everything is working on feeling the attachment. You have to work on feeling it. It's one thing, it's a big difference between the head to the heart. We're working our whole lives on that, right? Big story, the Divrei Chaim. I probably bring it all the time with you guys. The Divrei Chaim was this Hasidic Rebbe, big Hasidic Rebbe, was being examined by a doctor, and he asked the doctor, so what are you doing? What are you involved in? The doctor says, I go to this university, and I'm continuing my studies. I'm going to get this degree, and I'm going to go on to this. What do you do? Right? And the rabbi says, I've been working my whole life on building a bridge. Oh, so you're into construction, right? And the rabbi, yeah, I guess you can say that. I'm working on building a bridge from my head to my heart, my whole life. You got to feel it. Everything's about feeling, okay? So for example, this person who did the page 5. Who did the act of charity with only his hand, since the thoughts were an attachment to above, because he's totally connected to God, because there cannot be no greater an act of charity. You become as so connected because God is always giving charity. God is always bestowing. So when you're involved in an act of bestowing, you are in that same alignment, in the same energy of the Holy One, blessed be He. So there's no greater attachment. So then, since you're totally attached, and you're having that whole feeling, and you're with God at that moment, then, since you're wherever your mind is, that's where you are, then the whole body was in attachment along with the hand that did the actual act. Okay? So in other words, the question was, how can it be if I did a mitzvah with my one arm? How come that doesn't just create a hand mitzvah, an arm mitzvah? The answer is because when you did that, you became attached to your whole body. In other words, your whole mind went to the place of God, went to that attachment. And since your mind goes, and wherever your mind is, that's where you are. So therefore, the rest of your body went along with it. So it's not just created an arm angel. It's created a whole angel from that one action. Because the whole idea here is attachment. Okay? And this is why it is understood that the prophet Habakkuk, this is in the end of Gemara Makos, stood the Torah's fulfillment for the later generations on one thing. The whole Gemara went into it's too much, 600. So they went down to which kind of midot, which kind of character traits do I have to really focus on? So it went from 23 to 15 to 11 to 5 to then finally down to 3 and then to 1. I don't know the numbers, but I'm just playing around. But it went from this number to this, and Small. Habakkuk finally said, this is what you got to focus on in the end of days, and everybody knows that. Tzadik be'emunaso yichyeh, a righteous man lives on faith. That is your food. Okay? A righteous man lives on faith. Okay? Everything is about belief right now. And it's so true. It's so true. Because really, we don't have what the earlier generations had. The earlier generations, if you compare, and the Slonim Rebbe brings it down, if you compare the form of man to our history, right? As the head was at the earlier generations, and then the torso was the later generations after that, and finally we're at the later generations just before Mashiach, we're at the heels. The heels have no feeling. The heels don't have the senses that the head has. The earlier generations had full senses. In other words, they saw God. They saw miracles, right? The later generations, they didn't have the eyes and the ears, but they had a heart. They can intuit. They had that connection from the heart. We got nothing except the heels. What is that? Because the heels don't have no eyes. The heels don't have no ears. No mouth that can speak. Oh, this is where the force you connect to. Okay? The force you must connect. Okay? That's the force of faith. That's where you are in the dark and you just have to believe. You have to just use the force, Luke. Okay? Turn off everything and that's it. We're in the heels. We're in the heels. Humanity is in the heels. And what is our source is Emunah. Thank God we have Rabbi Arush and the books about Emunah. That's the only thing to talk about. And it really does, because it's underlying everything. If you have Emunah, you don't get angry when things happen anymore, right? You don't get freaked out, right? And as a matter of fact, you start to turn things around and you go, thank you, Hashem. You start to thank Hashem when those things happen. It was great yesterday. I'm davening. I woke up late. My day wasn't going. And then I'm in the middle of praying. And Talia, who took the car to school, the red car takes to school. She's stuck. The car died. Right. Right. And this I knew it was like on his lap. Every day was like a big favor to Hashem that car was going. Every day was like, oh, what a grace of God that she got back. Now she was stuck and she's stuck like in the Creek Bend where it's like bad neighborhood. You always get on the north. You always get on the on the emails, right? Shootout, high-speed chase on Creek Bend. Always getting like signals, right, on stuff. All kinds of, bank robbery, and there's not even a bank there. Okay. Right? And so my wife goes to me, she's stuck on Creek Bend. I've got my tefillin, my talis on, and I'm in the middle of praying. I'm like, so she has to rush out to go rescue our daughter, and I'm like thinking, thank you, God. While I'm praying and saying Mizmor LaDavid and everything like that, thank you, God, that the red car finally died. It finally occurred to me something really wild. That car was 3 years to the week that Shabtai was born. Right? Shabtai is 3 years old. 3 years to the week exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so that brings to mind the example you gave last week, and I'm curious as to your thoughts on. We were talking about the example of the two men in the shul who were, one of them had to go out to get something, and
the wood.
Right, and the wood.
One had to go get the wood, and one stayed to say the prayer.
So were your thoughts with your daughter?
No, I was absolutely not. I was like, thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, God. This is great. Thank you. I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take this over anything else. I'm so, and that you just got to keep thanking him. Thank you. And I'm just trying to work it more in the heart, you understand, because you got to sometimes take a hammer and chisel to pound it in there.
Yeah.
Because there's resistance.
Okay, can I ask another question along those lines? I had a situation where I was in the middle of praying, and I realized in the middle that I wasn't wearing a kippah. And I thought about it for a minute or two, and I couldn't get it out of my mind. And I walked out. They were saying the Shema. And I walked out, and I was saying it as I was walking, and I'm getting the kippah, and I'm thinking, okay, you are where your thoughts are. So I kept saying it, but I went and got the kippah and came back in. The Shema wasn't even finished yet. It was just right there. It was just in the back.
So good. You had a great exercise.
Is that?
That's awesome. You know what strikes me about that? It was the yearning, which is the biggest thing. We'll get to that in a few minutes here. The yearning is everything. Yearning builds the vessel. It's like you want to be there. Okay, you can't be. Providence has it that you weren't there. Right? You didn't have the kippah. You have to go out to go get the kippah. Providence made it that you weren't there. Okay. But you wanted to be. Oh, that's the most beautiful thing in the world. Right? The most beautiful thing in the world.
I have a question, but just it may be veering off in one direction, but in studying about Emunah, I ran into the faith and trust, the bitachon, and how you really need both, and they're completely separate. You can have lots of emunah, but yet you're still questioning God as to why something happened to you.
So really the bottom line between faith and bitachon, faith is like the body of the laws, is the concept. Bitachon is where you're actually using it. Like you have a tool, but if it sits in the closet and you're not using it, you can have all the tools. Look at my shop. Can't make nothing with it, right? Never use them. But, right? So, in other words, bitachon, which means trust, is when you are actually employing him. This is the tree. This is the fruit. Faith is the tree. Trust is the fruit, is when you're actually expressing that. So really, bottom line, if you really go back to it, the person doesn't have emunah if they're still asking the questions. Right. Okay, you have to pray, Hashem, give me more emunah. That's always number one.
This Rabbi Yaakov, which I don't know if he's famous, but I was just listening to a Parsha story. He said, faith is I believe in God, but bitachon is I believe God.
I don't know.
Don't believe trust. You put yourself in God's
Well,
hands.
that's what
One
he
is
said.
no. Okay.
So in other words, you believe in God, but you're going to.
I'll have to meditate. We'll have to. Let's leave that after, and let's meditate. I think it needs a little meditation. All right, let's go on. It's good. It's interesting, but I think it needs a little bit more fill. Okay, it's good. Okay. Anyway, so where are we?
First,
All right. Okay, so Tzaddik be'emunah so yichye, that the righteous man lives on faith. Okay, which is, it's not telling us to focus on only this mitzvah, because some people do think that, and it's not true. It's not true. Doesn't mean, okay, I only have to worry about having emunah, right? Right? No. But rather to do the mitzvahs with emunah, which means attachment, thereby coming to be attached to the oneness. Okay? So here I wrote note 6. How does one do, I got the notes right here this time, right? How does one do a mitzvah with emunah? Right? If we would only yearn for yearning, or actually I would say now, pray for yearning, that would mean we want to be attached, right? You have to want to be attached. And if you don't want to be attached, then you can want to be attached. And if you don't want, you can do it 10 times. If you want to be attached, okay? That wanting and yearning is an expression of recognizing that God is the source. Okay? In other words, even if you like right now, I just don't want to be attached. So at least you know inside of you there's a wanting to want. Okay? Just for simple. And just to recognize that wanting to want, okay, I'm there. There's a yearning. Okay? That's important. Okay? It's very important. Okay? The idea here is the yearning creates a huge vessel. An appetite. Someone closed, he's making a coffee. Let's put it on pause. Thanks a lot, I'm recording. It's all good. It stopped. It's okay. It's on Facebook Live. They're all watching. I got like Eugene Stoll in the middle. The robocaller has to call in the middle of class. It's like they know. Those robocallers. All right. Let's go back. All right, so when one is attached to God, one is beyond time, space, and his limited thinking. Because, of course, God is beyond time and space. Right? God is beyond all of those things. So here we go. So that's one example here of being attached to God, is being in God's presence all the time, which really we already are in God's presence. And I think I shared this with you also last week, that of course our neshama is in perpetual prayer. Our higher levels of ourselves are constantly attached to God anyways. We don't feel it in our space-time void right now, in this space-time dimension. But when we do go into praying, we're hooking into that perpetual prayer that our souls, our neshama, our higher selves are already attached. It's important to have that always in you. That the idea really here is to bring that level of attachment always into the here and now for us. We're getting there. We're definitely getting there, okay? There's great authors and rabbis all over, and everybody's talking about it. Everybody's talking about this stuff too. It's all about the thoughts. Wherever your thoughts are, that's where you are. Okay? So here's another example of the dimension in space. Here's a great chazal here. Crazy piece of Torah here. When people look at this, they don't know how to take it. Actually, the people in Israel are feeling good, but not the people who are in Chutz La'aretz, which means outside of Israel. They ain't feeling so good. Living in Israel versus living outside. One who lives outside of Israel is as if he has no God. Point. Case in point. It's a statement that the Talmud makes. Okay? Tractate Ketubot. Okay? Kesubos. Gemara Kesubos. Is as if he has no God. What can that possibly mean? Shocking statement. We're all living here in Texas, right? Well, Texas might have been an exception to the rule. Okay. You're right. I think you're right. There's a Gemara, except Texas, it wrote down in the Talmud, right?
You are really a Texan now.
I can go get my boots. Can I go get my boots?
Yeah.
All opposed? Any of yay? Nay? Okay, all opposed? Right, where I'm going, I got it. I am definitely on the level of the boots. Okay, fine. All right. It's a shocking statement. Okay, so how do we understand this statement? As if we have no God. What are you talking about, right? So, okay, so there's many answers here that offer, I call it appeasement, because, the statement still says as if, and we're going to focus on that, okay? One of them is that the synagogues existing outside of Israel are considered as if they are a piece of the land of Israel, i.e. they're an embassy. All synagogues are an embassy, okay? So just like if you would be in Pakistan and you make it to the American embassy, thank God. So it's like you're on American soil, okay? So therefore, in a synagogue is like you are in Israeli soil, okay? Israeli soil. You have your passport.
Question back to you. Then you're actually kind of like in Israel when you were in the day.
I'm sorry, I lost that. Because I was the robocall got me. What? Say that again.
I had somebody bring me some naots or whatever from Israel.
Some what?
Naots.
What's a
Sandals.
naot?
The shoes, sandals.
The brand.
And so they bought them to
Sandals,
me in
those
Israel,
Israeli
and so it's
sandals?
Like I have this thought, like when I'm in them, I'm like not here. I'm like in Israel.
Thank you. Got a piece of Israel. I can bring you some dirt
So I
if you
could
want.
walk around in my
Okay, you want
sandals
some dirt?
and I'm not here.
Okay. The idea here is when you go into a synagogue, it's as if you're in Israel. Of course, my Rosh Hashiva always says, where do you live? Where do you live? Where do you live? You live in the base midrash. You live in the synagogue. That's where you live. You go to home, you go sleep, you eat at home, you hang out, but where do you really live? You live in the beit midrash, where you're learning. That's where you're living. Anyways,
I bought
that's
this
one
in
answer.
Israel, and I always feel more connected when I wear it.
All right. So that's one answer. Okay, so if you are connected to a synagogue, it is as if you're connected to the land of Israel. But the statement, he has no God, it still boldly affects us. The simple understanding is that when the person lives outside of Israel, then that person is under the guiding angel of that particular land that he is in. In other words, every land except for Israel. Israel, God that's my baby, right? But every single land has an overseeing, a guiding angel, right? Who's the guiding angel of America? Sam. Uncle Sam wants you, right? Uncle Sam is not like that guy with the big top hat, red, white, and blue, a little beard, goatee, eating a Hebrew national hot dog, okay? Right? We answer to a higher authority. Not! Okay, so the idea really here is Sam is really Sam Kale. We're not even allowed to say his name. He's like the epitome of the dark forces. He is the overseeing angel of Edom or Esau. He is the angel that Yaakov Avinu wrestled when he was coming back. The guardian angel of Esau. He is in charge of America. Okay. Another explanation. So in any ways, you're under the sub-auspices of another office, right? In other words, God wants to send you something, it has to go through Sam's office, and he's like looking at it going, nah, I don't think so. All right. So anyways, so he has to yay it or nay it, or maybe he like messes things up, or he puts a proviso there. Okay? Yeah, we're going to give him this under this condition. Well, and this tax, we're going to tax him this. Okay? In any case, that's one. Another explanation of what it means is no God is meant that he is going after the nature of the world. This is the most common understanding. That he's going after the nature of the world and relying on external vices for his livelihood, etc. In that sense, we say he has no God because what happens, he relies on what's called, quote unquote, nature. I have a job, it's 8 to 5, I get my paycheck, I get my salary, everything is in a smooth flow, I've got my creature comforts, I've got this comforts, I've got this, and nature is basically taken care of. So therefore, you're not really, and it's a big, huge trap for people, the nasty 4-letter word, comfort, right? Okay, start counting comfort, right? People get comfortable, they don't pray for redemption, they don't yearn for redemption, right? So therefore, you get stuck. So therefore, it's as if you have no God, because if you have a God, you're screaming. You're in front of God every day. We need this, we need this. There's people suffering. We got to move this, we got to shake this, we got to do this. You're constantly pushing. Here, you get comfortable. You stop to push. You got your nature. You rely on nature. Everybody gets a job. Everybody gets a salary. Everybody gets paid. Everybody moves on. Keeps moving. Okay? It's not really our way. Okay? Are you here for the group, ma'am? Okay. When other people come in, that classroom, which I understand you guys are really yearning to have it, you're welcome. You don't have to stay in there because you're going to be directing people. Okay?
Am I bothering you all?
You are not bothering us one bit. I just want to help you. I just want to have you to be.
Are we going to be in there?
Yes.
Okay.
Bottom line. But people might want to know that.
I'll let you know.
Thank you. That's all. All right. Where am I?
Just finished.
Nature of the world.
You're
Got
at
it.
8.
Okay. But the message of Rabbi Yaakov Yosef offers encouragement. It's unbelievable. Listen to this, folks. Thank God. Thank God. He is exact on the language that says as if. Don't forget, you have to go. One who lives outside of Israel is as if. It's like he has no God. Okay? And here he goes for this unbelievable switch and a twist. And he explains that if you are living outside of Israel and your heart is in the Holy Land, Rabbi Shlomo Carbuch, they say, where are you? Where do you live? Where do you live? He says, well, my feet are in Brooklyn, and but my heart is in Jerusalem, right? So if his heart is in Jerusalem, that's where he is. Okay? So if your heart is in Jerusalem, that's where you are. Because wherever your thoughts are, that's where you are. So that is where you are. So if a person lives outside of the land of Israel and desires, and he contemplates always for the land of Israel, it is as if he has no God. It's only a like you do have a God. But in actuality, you do have a God. Why? Because, yes, your body is outside of Israel. It is only as if you have no God. But in actuality, since your mind is in the Holy Land, you actually do have a God because your mind is in the Holy Land. Okay? It's only a ke'ilu. It's a as if. It's a like, but it's not actual. Okay? So wherever your thoughts are, that is where you are. It's what's called an as if situation, but not the actual situation. In actuality, you do have a God. Because why? Your heart is in the Holy Land. Now, the same is for the opposite. You're going to like this one. Someone who's living in the land of Israel and is always contemplating outside the land. Maybe I should leave. Right? He's contemplating leaving. It's as if he has. It's as if he has a God. It's only as if he has a God. Why? Since he is physically in Israel, but in actuality, where is his mind? He is in the category of he has no God, because why? His mind is elsewhere, and therefore his essence is in something other than God, because he wants to go outside of Israel to get a parnasa. Really, you're not allowed to leave Israel except for dire circumstances. Really, you have to ask a rabbi to leave Israel. Not just anybody gets to leave Israel. It has to be, let's say, for parnasa, for a shidduch, I think there's the third thing I forgot. But, you're not really can't just skip the doo-dah. No. Okay. And they all have kunsim. Okay. So this is because wherever your thoughts are, that is where you are. Okay. So now we're going to get, just to drive it home, where are we on? Page 6. Right? So another example is from Yaakov Avinu, our forefather. Yaakov Avinu, our forefather. Regarding the matter of the dream of Yaakov, as we know that Yaakov Avinu had a dream about the ladder. He was actually sleeping on the Temple Mount, right? And he had the ladder, and there were angels going up and down on the ladder. Who were those angels? So there's different interpretations. The Midrash brings down who were the angels going up and who were the angels going down. So one interpretation was the angels going up were the angels of the land of Israel. And the angels that were coming down were the angels of outside of Israel, because there's just different department, different angels, totally different, right? It's not the same dudes, okay? So those angels were going, and a different host of angels were coming down. Those are called the angels of outside the land of Israel, okay? So the question, though, is, of course, wait a minute, Jacob didn't leave Israel. As a matter of fact, he's in the holiest of the holies. He's in the holiest of places. He's in the land of Israel. Why is he having a dream that these angels are going up and these angels are coming down? He didn't leave yet. Because you know why? His mind was on leaving. Mm-hmm. In other words, his head was already in a headspace that he's already in Padan Aram, right? He's already somewhere else. He's where his uncle Lavan is. So since his mind is there, that is where he is. So we see here in the idea here of space, that if a person is thinking in Israel, it's the holiest thing in the world, right? If a person is thinking of the shopping mall, okay, the Galleria, right? He's in the Gap. He's going looking through shirts in the Galleria. Don't wake yourself up. So I like this little example here that a person, if you don't already have in your mind, choosing a sanctuary in your mind, right? Mm-hmm. Outside of whether you are contemplating being in the Holy Land of Israel or not, one should pick for himself or herself a sanctuary in the mind. You choose whether it be a place set deep in a forest, on a beach, Temple Mount, whatever it is, and you could put yourself there, right? If a challenging situation occurs at any given time, so you can always put yourself there. Pick your space. Create your space. You create your little space. This is your place to be. You can even imagine yourself. You can picture the running water by the brook. You can picture the trees. The temperature is perfect. The smell, you can smell the pine, right? You can smell the pine, right? So you put yourself right there, and then you could just allow yourself to get your thoughts together, to get your soul together, okay? If you're in a place where you'd rather not be. Okay? Just to use this as an example. Okay? Consciousness and thought. This is the big one. I hope we have power for it. Anybody got an extra power source? No. Okay, so we'll just do what we got. Battery's running low, as always. Okay? This is one of the most dynamic ones about Elisha the prophet. Okay? In regards to consciousness and thought, because we said there's space, time, and consciousness. Wherever your thoughts are is space, time. You can be in the present or the past, which many times of the day we are, thinking about something that happened, or we're thinking about I have to be there, I have to be there, instead of being in the present. And then, of course, this is ultimate consciousness here. In regard to consciousness and thought, Elisha the prophet offers a bold example. The mind of Elisha was always in the upper worlds. That affected his lower world to such a degree that there was not a fly seen at his table. Okay? In other words, the Shunammite woman who would invite him in, because he would pass by this certain place, and the Shunammite woman, if you know the passages, she invited him in, this holy man. She actually made for him a special place to hang out, right? She made a loft or another room, right, for him to stay whenever he would pass by, and she says, I know that you're a holy man. And they ask in the Talmud, how did she know? And the Zohar asks, how did she know that he was a holy man, right? And she says, because two things. One was, here he's sitting at a table, 100-degree weather in Israel, windows open, right? And not a fly buzzing around that turkey. Anybody get to eat that? Okay. Not a fly buzzing around any of the food. He's hanging out at the table, not a fly, not a mosquito, nothing. Right? And she's going like, this is weird. Because it's when he goes, I'm eating, I'm like, dang, what the heck's going on here? Right? They didn't have those fly sticky things or zzz, zzz, zzz. Okay. Zapper. Zzz. There goes another one.
It's like
Okay.
fireworks.
They didn't have those. Okay. So in any case, not a fly. So she realized this guy must be holy because you know why? This is it. Right? His head is in his mind is with the whole, is so attached to the Shekhinah, to the divine presence. Because God is all there is. His head is in the space. God is all there is. And he's viewing everything in such holiness and such purity. And his thoughts are so holy and pure. So God is not going to let a varmint, a unclean animal, pass through his senses. This is why some have the custom, some Hasidim have the custom, they don't want to show their kids books of tumadika animals, correct? Right. In other words, if you have animals, if you have a book of animals, right, it only has to be like chickens, cows. So in other words, if he ever sees like a vulture, he's like, what the heck is that? Right, because they never showed him, right? So or anything else like that, a dove or acher, or like a pig, right? They don't want to show him those things, and it has a holy source to it, because why? It's what's going on? Why are you being exposed to that? Okay, it could be detrimental because you might be confronted with a wild boar and you won't know what it is until it chases you. So in any case, the idea is though his frequency, his vibrational frequency, which is everything that we're about, which is everything that this book is about, getting yourself on the highest vibration of joy. Okay, it's Rosh Chodesh today. You have to increase joy today. Okay, increase joy. It's amazing how Chazal says when Adar comes, you have to increase joy. And when Av comes, that's the month that this temple was destroyed, you have to decrease joy. Right? But the interesting thing that you bring out, okay, but there's a given there. The given is you always have joy. You always got to be joyous. It's just there's a time where you decrease it, and there's a time where you increase it, but you always got it. Okay? You always got to have it. Sometimes you just need to be reminded. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, I got joy. Okay? The idea really here is the vibrational frequency was so high that flies could not exist in his plane of existence. Okay? So in other words, this guy, his mind was on such a high plane that God was not going to bring, and it goes into chapter 2 as we'll see in another place. So what is the meaning of to have our minds on the upper worlds when we think about it? Okay. There are many explanations that go too esoteric for us. You have to come to my Sunday class for that one. We are going to attempt a simple and basic one. The key to upper world and lower world comes from that well-known parable of the person who, after passing away, was happily being led by an angel to his place in heaven. One of the first things they did for me in the yeshiva. It was really great. And everybody knows this. I do this probably every single class. That the guy dies, he's going to heaven, he's really excited, and he asks the angel, can I just see what Gehenna's like? Just I want to see before I go to heaven, right? So he goes, okay, no problem. So he takes him to Gehenna, he takes him to the other side, right? The dark side, and he sees that you don't know, you haven't been exposed to this, have you? Okay, great. So you've got a first timer here, so humor me like it's the first time you heard this. So in any case, so like, bing, the elevator goes down, the door goes up, bing, the door goes up, he steps out and he sees these tables full of this lush, unbelievable food. The smells are amazing. It's not like some of your Tex-Mex that you might smell on the street here. It's amazing, okay? But actually sometimes it smells pretty good, okay? And the aromas, and the tables are full of this food, and everybody's sitting around the table, and everybody's screaming because their arms are stuck like this. And they can't feed themselves. Right? And they're hungry and they're screaming. He goes, whoa. Okay. I'm ready to go. So ding, goes up, ding, door opens, steps out, labels, tables full of this lush, unbelievable food, and it's like, the smells, the aromas, amazing. Everybody's stuck, and everybody's sitting around the table, and their arms are also stuck like this. Oh, there's no problem here, because why? They feed each other. They feed each other. Okay? One thought, one hair away between Gehenna, hell, and heaven is just one idea. That's the idea. The idea here is, are you thinking of feeding others? Are you thinking of anything else other than yourself? Okay? So, we'll skip that paragraph, right? So, brought back, okay, sorry, I just I said this outside, right? So, the idea here is one line. Are you thinking of other people? And that is the main thing. When we talk about to attach to God, here, if you go to the top of page 7, the crux concept difference between heaven and Gehenna is the one idea of egotistical self-absorption, where you are only thinking of stuffing your face, or whether you are thinking of others. The parable is simplified. There are so many levels of selfishness, and such as many to thinking, right? There are so many levels to selfishness, and just as many to thinking of other people, right? Thinking of other people. The holy man's mind is always working to benefit mankind. Boom. Boom. Okay? Always. Okay? To advance his generation and humanity as a whole. To be in the realm of Atzilut, that's the highest of all of the dimensions. The highest of the spiritual realms in Jewish tradition is to be in the root of connection to the Holy Shekhinah, only thinking about how to benefit mankind, how to benefit the generations, how to bring people comfort. Can I do someone a favor? Where can I do somebody a favor? Where can I do a mitzvah? I'm really yearning to do a mitzvah. I'm really yearning, because what happens is, the idea really here is quite simple, right? Is when you, I think we talked about it in other places. The idea here is, when we talk about spiritual proximity versus physical proximity. Physical proximity is obviously we're here in the same room, right? And spiritual proximity is different. How do you understand spiritual proximity? Spiritual proximity is likeness of form, equation of form. Equation of form is, to the degree that you like and hate things, and I like those and hate those same things, then we'll be attached. In other words, if you have a group of people that like Torah, right, and don't like whatever, strawberries, okay? So then will be our level of attachment, okay? So to the degree that we like and hate the thing that God likes and hates, will be our level of attachment. God is only into giving. He doesn't need to receive, correct or not correct? He does not need to receive. It's not in his programming, okay? And as to the degree that we equate our form to God's form, to be in godlike ways, godlike thinking, right? Thinking about others would be, we would be equating to the form of God. That's called ultimate attachment. When you are behaving in a godlike way, thinking in a godlike way, so that would be your level of attachment. Elisha was on such a high level, he was always involved in that. And I want to share just something with you, okay? Right? Living in the Shekhinah is only seeing, where can I give? Who can I do a favor for? So one of the things that really stuck to me was the Baal Shem Tov on the Aleph is the first thing, right? Aleph is talking about the Avot, our forefathers. And he brings down this little paragraph from the Baal Shem Tov, right? When we refer to the Avos, we don't call them the Avos, such as, let's say, like in the Shemona Esrei. They do say Avosena, but we spell it out. Ki'im Avraham, Yitzhak, v'Yaakov. We only call the Avos, when we refer to Avos, we always are only referring to those three. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We're not referring to anybody else. I don't refer to Levi, right, who was one of the 12 tribes. We don't refer to him as the Avos. Only these three. Why? Right? V'gam schus avos lo nikra rak mehem. Also, any merit when we talk about the merit of the forefathers, it's only them. It's not Levi, it's not Amram, right? It's not Aaron, not them, right? Because I'm a descendant of Levi, so I go, well, Levi is my... No, it's only them. So he explains, Mishum, because the Bechayehem, that in their life, Haya Avodasam Utfilasam, that their service and their prayer, Avor Kol Hador, was only for the sake of everybody in the generation, Ve'ad Sof Kol Hadoros, and until all of the end of all of the generations. Their considerations, their service, their total aspirations were only for the sake of the people of their generation and all of the generations that were to follow. That is why we refer only to them as the forefathers. Even though they're tzaddikim, all the other ones are tzaddikim, but every single one of their moves was just for the sake of the people of their generation and for all of the generations to come. Bottom line, it's for the sake of fixing the Shekhinah, which we're going to get into next week, okay? Talk about the Shekhinah, the divine presence, and what is that? Because we have to talk about that a little bit, because that's a huge thing, okay? Developing our relationship with the Shekhinah, because everything rides upon that, okay? Any questions?